Soft morning light. A woman stands at a window, a mug cradled in her palms. The world is still. Some women don't chase because they've already found what they were seeking. Not in his hands, not in his promises, but in the sacred quiet that rises the moment she stops begging to be met. She is the woman who has learned to hold herself, not because she was born unshakable, but because no one ever held her long enough for her to believe she was worthy of it. And so, she learned to alchemize absence into clarity, to hear love in silence and power in solitude. A man sits in a car, hands clenched on the steering wheel, alone, regret thick in the air. He came to her the way many do, with a hunger he'd never named, and a longing he never dared to soften into vulnerability. He saw her grace and believed it meant forgiveness. He saw her softness and assumed it would wait forever. But this woman was not built to raise what refuses to rise on its own. He did not know himself. He had not met his own pain, and so he looked to her, not for companionship, but for completion. A silent plea stitched beneath every compliment. Make me feel like a man again, even if it costs you. Flashbacks of her picking up his calls at midnight, absorbing his silence after arguments, loving louder when he pulled away. The first wound no man can heal is the wound he won't acknowledge. Instead, he asks her to hold it, not through words, but through expectation, that she will soothe his chaos, decode his withdrawal, and shrink herself just enough for him to feel large beside her. And, for a time, she does. Because the ache to be chosen lives deep in a woman not yet whole. Because her nervous system once mistook tension for love. She gave more, hoping to be seen. She stayed longer, hoping to be valued. But survival is not connection. It's a habit. And one day, the ache of her own invisibility becomes louder than the fear of his absence. She stares at her reflection in the mirror, not fixing, just seeing. The second wound no man can heal is his need for control, veiled as connection. He did not ask her to stay small. He simply responded with distance when she dared to expand. He did not demand obedience. He just offered silence when she spoke her truth. She used to question herself. Was she too emotional? Too much? But one morning, the fog lifts, and she understands. It was never her intensity that scared him. It was her wholeness, her refusal to break just to fit inside his unhealed frame. Maslow said that until our needs for esteem are met, we cannot ascend into who we're meant to be, and a man who hasn't claimed his worth will only ever feel threatened by hers. A dinner table. She sits across from him. He's talking, but her eyes are on the candle flickering between them. She isn't really there anymore. The third wound no man can heal is his fear of her no longer needing him, not in rebellion, but in revelation. There comes a night when she stops explaining herself, stops bending to his unpredictability, stops proving her worth to someone who cannot recognize his own. That night doesn't always look dramatic. It's not a slammed door or a shouted truth. It's a moment of stillness, so quiet it hums in the bones, where her nervous system no longer braces, where the urge to perform dies. She has become unhooked, and in that, she becomes untouchable. She walks alone through a marketplace. She smiles to herself. She is not waiting. She is not performing. She is present. He may remember her with a mix of awe and confusion, not because she disappeared, but because she stopped being available to his unhealed patterns. She didn't leave out of anger. She left from alignment. she no longer needs to be chosen, because she has remembered that wholeness was never meant to be outsourced, and love, the real kind, does not begin in another's arms. It begins when a woman stops betraying herself for the illusion of being held. She is by the sea at sunrise, arms folded gently, face calm, no sorrow, no fire, just fullness. The woman who no longer waits isn't angry, she's simply full. Soft fade to black. Ambient piano continues. If your soul needed this, subscribe to this channel for more stories that speak to your worth, your healing, and your return to yourself. This is not just content, it's reclamation.